Next, we're going to hear a love story told through letters and music. Peter Miller is the founder and lead singer of a band from Minneapolis called We Are the Willows. The songs on the band's new album, Picture Portrait, are inspired by the hundreds of letters sent to Miller's grandmother, Verlie, by his grandfather, Alvin. Peter Miller spoke to NPR's Leah Scarpelli about his grandparents' romance.
It was 1941 in rural Minnesota. America was about to go to war. Alvin Miller was 20, Verlie Branstner, 18.
His siblings had told him about Verlie Branstner and that she was, really beautiful and he had to meet her. And so he took a job splitting wood for Verlie's father. They called him in for lunch. That's when he first saw my grandma.
The Reverend, he, his family were gathered there. You had paint hiding in your hair.
He's later talked about it like his heart fell to the floor and he was overwhelmed by her.
It wasn't until the following year that Alvin Miller and Verlie Branstner met again.
He calls that their first date, and he, drove her to work. In some of the letters, he talks about, kissing her, and, she would say that they needed to take 5-minute breaks from kissing.
Just months later, Alvin Miller left with the Army to fight in World War II.
He asked my grandma to marry him before he left, and she said no, on the grounds of, they still didn't know each other well enough.
So for 4 years, Alvin and Verlie wrote to one another. Some of his darkest correspondence comes from his time in the South Pacific, and only his letters to Verlie survive. There are over 350 of them.
Oh boy, if you could see what I am seeing now.
Alvin Miller made it through the Pacific Campaign, and then back to the U.S.
When he first got home to Minnesota, he saw her. He said that he, kissed her so hard that she wanted to marry him.
Alvin and Verlie married, had children, then grandchildren.
We will have a son. He will have a son. He will be our grandson.
Peter Miller says that in first reading the letters, then writing an album inspired by them, he wanted to get to know his grandfather more. Alvin Miller died 2 years ago.
I wanted a chance to sort of have other conversations with him. And in some ways, this seemed like the best way.
And Peter says his grandmother, Verlie, approves.
She said that I captured my grandpa's voice and that she feels like she's stepping back into time and reliving these things.
Picture Portrait by We Are the Willows is out this week. Leah Scarpelli, NPR News.
Literally the last letter that I have of his is a week before their wedding, and he's writing her to say that he just got a haircut and he's taking the bus up to northern Minnesota and he'll see her really soon.